Abandoned in a forest at birth, the boy became a symbol of the entire city.
Hello everyone, enjoy these relaxing moments while you watch.
New York, an early autumn afternoon. On the Columbia University campus, the trees had turned a brilliant shade of yellow, and dry leaves drifted slowly to the ground under the pale sunlight. Laura Walker walked briskly through the corridors of the law school, her dark blonde hair neatly tied back, her delicate face carrying the refined features of old aristocracy. A second-year law student, she always stood out not just because of her beauty, but also for her calm demeanor, intelligence, and prestigious background as the only daughter of Elizabeth Walker, a former United States Supreme Court Justice. Laura had loved Alexander since their freshman year. He was an exchange student from Haiti, with ebony skin and a warm smile like sunlight. A political science major, he was intelligent, composed, and always ranked top of the class in system analysis courses. To Laura, he was the only thing that made her feel free in her rigid, traditional aristocratic life. "Where are you rushing off to, princess?" Alexander waited at the foot of the stairs, holding a cup of hot coffee. Laura smiled faintly and took the cup. "Looking for you. You disappeared all afternoon. I had a meeting with Professor Morales. About Nigerian policy." She looked at him, her eyes dimming. Alexander brushed her hair back. "What's wrong? Your eyes are puffy. Mom yelled at me again last night. She said if I don't end this relationship, she'll cut off all support." Alexander sighed, holding her hand. "We'll be okay. I promise." Laura nodded, forcing a smile. But deep down, the anxiety was growing. Everything started changing in the spring of their second year. Laura noticed that Alexander was frequently absent on Thursday afternoons. His text replies became slower. Study group sessions were cancelled without explanation. A subtle coldness had begun to form. One evening, Laura's best friend from high school, Lucy, invited her out to dinner. They picked a small restaurant near Times Square. Under golden candlelight and soft music, Laura suddenly asked, "Lucy, don't you think Alexander's been acting strange lately?" Lucy shrugged and took a sip of wine. "Probably just school pressure. Don't overthink it. You know I'm not the jealous type. But something feels off." Lucy fell silent, then changed the subject. A week later, on a Thursday afternoon, Laura showed up at Lucy's apartment unannounced. She carried a stack of documents that supposedly needed reviewing, an excuse to see Lucy, but in truth, she was trying to confirm the suffocating suspicion gnawing at her. Lucy's apartment was on the third floor of an old building. Laura knocked. No answer. But the door wasn't locked. She pushed it open, and froze. On the gray sofa, Alexander lay with his shirt unbuttoned. Lucy emerged from the bathroom wrapped in a towel, her wet hair dripping, a glass of red wine in hand. 3 pairs of eyes met. The room went dead silent. "Laura," Alexander stood up, pale as a sheet. Lucy panicked and stepped back. I didn't mean. I wasn't trying to." Laura didn't say a word. She threw the documents to the floor and turned to leave. Alexander chased after her, grabbing her hand in the hallway. "Let me explain. Laura, please." She shook him off. "Since when?" "It was a mistake. Just one time." "What about the time before that? And the time before?" Laura's voice trembled. "I've been a fool this whole time." Lucy stood at the door, clutching the towel. "Laura, I'm sorry." Laura looked at her with eyes full of pain and contempt. "You were my best friend. And you slept with the man I loved. There's nothing left to say." She ran out of the building. That night, New York was bitterly cold, the wind slashing against her skin like knives. Laura sat alone on a park bench, her eyes blank. Her phone rang non-stop. Alexander. Lucy. But she didn't answer. She just wanted to disappear. The next day, Laura didn't go to class. She stayed locked in her room, curtains drawn, curled up like a child. She hadn't eaten anything in 3 days except a bit of water. Her eyes were sunken, her face gaunt. Mary, the family's loyal elderly housekeeper, gently knocked on the door. "Miss Laura, are you okay? I brought some hot soup. Just leave it there." Laura's voice was hoarse. Mary came in, placed the bowl on the table, then sat beside her and gently stroked her hair. "I heard about Alexander. I'm so sorry. But you can't shut yourself off like this forever." Laura closed her eyes. "I don't want to live anymore, Mary. Don't say that. You're a good person. You deserve happiness. Don't let those traitors destroy your heart." Laura didn't respond. But a few days later, she began to feel something unusual. Nausea. Fatigue. Chest tightness. Mary grew worried. "You should see a doctor." "I'll take you." After the exam, Dr. Wilson, a kindly man in his 50s, looked at Laura seriously. "Miss Laura, you're pregnant." Laura was stunned. "You're about 4 weeks along. Your health is still good. But, is there something you're worried about?" Laura looked down. "The baby's father betrayed me. And my mother will never accept this." The doctor nodded gently. "Whatever you decide, think carefully. A child is an innocent life." Leaving the clinic, Laura sat on a bench in front of the hospital. Her hand instinctively rested on her belly. Amidst the pain and humiliation, this tiny life was all she had left, proof of a love she once believed was real. That evening, she sat in the kitchen with Mary. For the first time in days, she picked up a spoon and ate the soup. Mary smiled, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "You're keeping the baby?" Laura nodded. "The baby did nothing wrong. If I give it up, I'd be no different from my mother." Mary held her hand, squeezing gently. "You won't be alone. I'll always be here for you." But Mary also knew, when Elizabeth found out, the storm would begin. When Laura told her she was pregnant, Elizabeth just stared at her daughter with ice-cold eyes. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She didn't break anything. She just stayed silent. A terrifying kind of silence. She poured a glass of red wine and sat on the living room sofa, eyes never leaving Laura. "What did you just say?" Her voice was low, steady, like she was interrogating a criminal. I'm pregnant," Laura whispered. "By that half-breed boy?" Elizabeth's face went pale. "Mom, please don't use that kind of language." She shot up, hands trembling with rage. The wine glass crashed to the carpet, shattering. A shard hit Laura's leg, but she didn't react. "You have shamed this family," she screamed. "Do you know who your father was? Your grandfather was the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. And you? You let some filthy black boy plant his seed in you like a roadside tramp." Laura bit her lip, holding back tears. "He's my child. I'm keeping him." "Absolutely not." Elizabeth lunged forward, gripping Laura's wrist. "I will not allow one drop of filthy mixed blood to exist in this family." "Let go!" Laura shouted, yanking her arm away. Mary ran up from the kitchen. "Madam! Please, don't hurt Miss Laura." "Shut up!" Elizabeth barked. "And you don't think I don't know you secretly helped her go to the clinic? If you defend her again, I'll have you shipped off to upstate New York immediately." Mary bowed her head, hands clutching her apron, lips trembling. "I only beg you, spare the baby." Elizabeth was breathing heavily as she stepped to her desk, opened a drawer, and took out an old phone. She dialed. "Alexander? This is Laura's mother. Listen, if you have any shred of decency, you'll disappear from this country and never show your face again." Otherwise, I can very easily have you deported for visa violations. Alexander's voice on the other end turned stiff. I love Laura. And I have the right to know about my child. You have no rights. No papers. No standing. And from now on, no future. If you call again, I'll have someone come and take care of you. She hung up. Then turned to her daughter. Starting today, you're not allowed to leave this house. I'll deal with the pregnancy. All you need to do is keep your mouth shut and give birth to it. What are you going to do with my child? Laura screamed. It's not your child. It belongs to that filthy bloodline. From that day on, Laura was kept under house arrest for the remainder of her pregnancy. All her electronic devices were confiscated. Her bedroom door was locked from the outside every night. Only Mary secretly brought her a small stack of library books to read. She's going to kill my baby, Laura whispered as Mary placed a plate of food down. Mary gripped her hand tightly. I'll do everything I can. But you need to stay calm. For the baby. 3 weeks later, on a stormy night, a black van pulled up in front of the estate. Laura was forced into the vehicle by 2 men dressed like security guards. One of them was Henry, Elizabeth's longtime bodyguard, a man who silently executed every command. Don't ask where we're going. Just stay quiet, Henry said, his hand never leaving the gun at his waist. Laura held her belly, trembling. I beg you, I just want to keep my baby. The driver, a strange man named Alan, turned up the radio, ignoring her cries. They drove for 4 hours, cutting through small towns in upstate New York. Eventually, they reached a small house isolated among vast vineyards. No signboard. No outsiders. A middle-aged woman opened the door. Her name was Margaret, an unlicensed midwife known for delivering babies in secret for those who needed to remain off-record. You don't need to care for this one, Henry said coldly. Just get it out. Margaret glanced at Laura, her eyes softening. I've done this for 32 years. But I've never seen eyes so full of despair. She led Laura into a shabby wooden room, where a white sheet was already laid out. Laura dropped to her knees and grasped Margaret's hand. Please. I beg you, after I give birth, don't let her take my baby. Margaret stayed silent. Labor began that very night. Laura endured excruciating pain for nearly 9 hours. No anesthesia. No doctor. Only the sound of falling rain and her ragged breathing in the damp room. Finally, a cry rang out. A baby boy. Dark skin. Tightly curled hair. Eyes wide open, staring at her as if he understood everything. Laura burst into tears. Baby. Mommy's here. She reached out, but before Margaret could place the child in her arms, Henry walked in. Give him to me. Can't you see the mother hasn't even held her baby yet? Margaret growled. Orders from the lady of the house. Margaret hesitated, but Alan pushed her aside. Henry took the baby, wrapped in a blanket, and turned to leave. Laura screamed. No. Give me back my baby. Please, I'm begging you. He's my child. Henry gave a command. Sedate her. Alan pulled out a syringe. Laura thrashed wildly. No. Please, don't. The needle pierced her skin. Laura went limp. Her vision blurred. The image of her newborn fading like an inescapable nightmare. When Laura woke up, it was morning. The room was empty. No crying. No baby. She bolted upright and stumbled outside. Margaret was packing up supplies. Where is my baby? Margaret didn't look at her. I asked you, where is my baby? Margaret whispered, I don't know where they took him. You're lying. Laura blocked the door. You let them steal my baby. Tears welled in Margaret's eyes. I'm just a hired hand. I have no power to stop them. Henry walked in. You're awake. The car's waiting. Back to New York. Laura glared at him. You're a monster. He shrugged. I work for whoever pays. Back in New York, Laura was taken straight to her room. Elizabeth stood at the top of the stairs waiting. It's done, she said coldly. Where is my child? Thrown away. Laura collapsed onto the floor. You're a monster, a murderer. I'm the one who cleans filth from this family's bloodline. Laura sobbed uncontrollably, every cry breaking her apart. Elizabeth walked away, as indifferent as if no pregnancy had ever happened, as if no life had ever been lost. Outskirts of New York, early dawn the next day. The sky was still dark, thick fog blanketing the woods near the South Bronx residential area. The hoot of an owl echoed in the freezing air. A beat-up gray truck pulled over at the edge of the forest. Alan stepped out, carrying a small cardboard box. Here. Henry looked around, his breath visible in the cold. Yeah. Not even hunters come here much. Alan placed the box on the damp grass. Inside, the black baby, still red and wrinkled, wrapped in a thin blanket, whimpered softly. Each weak cry slashed through the night. Henry crouched down, peering into the baby's dazed eyes. He really does look like that Haitian bastard, he sneered. Cut it out, Alan said. Let's just dump him and go. Yeah. Before someone sees. Henry stood. A thing like this, nobody's gonna miss it. The truck turned around and disappeared into the fog. An hour later, a middle-aged man pushing a handcart passed through the woods. His name was Raymond Carter, a scrap collector living in the slums near the old train station. His face was pockmarked, beard unkempt, coat torn, eyes always darting like a rat. He whistled as he picked up bottles along the dirt path, then stopped when he heard a sound. A faint cry, like a wounded kitten. He tilted his head. Moved toward the noise. When he saw the cardboard box, he frowned. What the hell is this? He bent down and opened it. The baby opened its eyes, lips trembling, tiny hands curled up from the cold. Raymond looked around. Not a soul. Ha! A baby. And it's black. Thought it was something special. He snorted. He picked up the baby, holding it out like examining a piece of scrap. A fly buzzed past the infant's face. The baby winced, curling tighter. This little black thing. If I can raise you into a decent beggar, then maybe you're worth the trouble. He shoved the baby into a filthy cloth sack on the cart and threw a tattered coat over him. I'll call you half-breed. Got that? Half-breed. Your property. Nothing more, nothing less. The first year passed in a dark, damp corner of a basement in the Hunts Point area. The child had no birth certificate, no doctor visits, no vaccinations. Only the stench of mildew, the sound of yelling, and Raymond's kicks whenever he cried at night. Shut up, you little shit. I don't have time to hear you whine. Raymond made his living collecting scrap, but in reality, he ran an underground ring that collected nameless children to exploit as beggars and petty thieves. He recruited kids from junkyards, under bridges, train stations, the ones no one looked for, the ones no one remembered. In the cramped room, alongside the half-breed were three others. Joey, 7, abandoned by his mother at a bus station. Anna, 5, who stuttered. And Mikey, 9, blind in one eye. Every night, Joey whispered to the half-breed, if you want to stay alive, never make Raymond mad. You're black, you hear me? Raymond barked. You don't have a name. No mother. Nothing. You've only got me and you'll do whatever I say. The boy learned how to sit still for hours with a plastic bowl in front of him, hand out, head down. If someone gave him money, he thanked them. If not, he kept quiet. If anyone asked for his name, he gave only 2 words, half-breed. Spare change. Raymond taught the kids how to fake cry, fake tremble. Anyone who didn't meet the daily quota got beaten with a soft rubber hose, no marks, but sharp, lasting pain. You think black kids don't feel pain? Raymond sneered. One time, Anna sneaked a piece of bread into the bathroom. Raymond found out and dragged her into the yard, forcing the others to watch. You hiding food? Aren't you clever? He poured a pot of boiling water onto the ground, then pressed Anna's hand into the rising steam. Her scream pierced the sky. The half-breed clutched a scrap of paper he had drawn on an indistinct face with long hair and sad eyes. In his faint memory, he dreamed of a woman who once held him, but no one believed him, no one remembered. What the hell is this? Raymond snatched the paper and tore it in half. You're garbage. You don't have a mother. You've only got me. At 4 years old, the half-breed was assigned a territory. Union Square Green Market on Sunday mornings. And the traffic lights near Grand Central Station every night. Sit still. Hand out. Look pitiful, Raymond instructed. Joey went with him, acting as a lookout. If you cry for real, it's ruined, Joey whispered. Just pretend you're a dog. Easier that way. One day, an old woman passed by and dropped $2 into the half-breed's cup. Well, your face does look pitiful. She stroked his cheek, then suddenly asked, why are you out here alone? Where's your mother? The half-breed looked down. I don't have a mother. No mother? Who feeds you? Uncle Raymond. The woman frowned. Who's Raymond? He holds the money. That night, Raymond punched the half-breed in the stomach repeatedly. How many times have I told you never to say my name to strangers? Joey screamed, stop. He's only 4 years old. Raymond turned and slapped Joey so hard his mouth bled. Shut your mouth. You think I care what people think? These brats are tools. Money makers. Nothing more. That night, the half-breed curled behind the dumpster, his nose bleeding. Anna crawled over and placed her hand on his forehead. Don't die, okay? He said nothing. Just stared at the sky. That was the first time he asked himself, where did I come from? But he had no answer. By 6, the half-breed had mastered the skill of sitting like a statue in front of luxury supermarkets along Fifth Avenue. No speaking. No movement. Just a sorrowful face and wide eyes like he was starving to death. Raymond trailed behind, wearing a baseball cap, watching every dollar that dropped into the rusted can. You made $14 today. Less than yesterday, he growled. I got chased by a security guard, the half-breed mumbled. And why the hell didn't you slip through the side like I showed you? You stupid. I'm sorry. Before the apology even finished, a thunderous slap knocked the half-breed's head sideways. Joey rushed over and helped him up. Raymond, he's still a kid, he's only 6. Shut up. You want to take his place? Raymond snapped. Mikey silently pulled out a piece of bread he'd hidden in his pocket and offered it to the half-breed when Raymond's back was turned. But Raymond turned around faster than they thought. Aha, hiding food again. Clever, aren't you? He grabbed Mikey by the hair, dragged him into the brick yard, shoved the whole piece of bread in his mouth, and pinched his nose. Swallow it. If you steal food, then choke on it. Mikey struggled, tears streaming. Anna and Joey screamed. The half-breed stood frozen, his heart being crushed. Eventually, Raymond let go. Mikey coughed violently and vomited everything. Raymond dusted his hands off and sneered. Let this be a lesson: nothing belongs to you. Everything is mine. Each day was another hell. The half-breed had to wake at 4 a.m. to help Raymond sort plastic waste, then ride the bus to the city center and beg from morning till night. In the evening, he was forced to study wallet recognition. Raymond showed him pictures of American handbags and wallets, teaching him how to reach in without getting caught. Seen this one before? Raymond showed a Hermes wallet. Yes, at the market. Good. That one's expensive. Grab one and we eat for a week. But, what if I get caught? Raymond smirked. Say you're an orphan. Who do you think gives a damn about a filthy black kid like you? The cops'll shove you around, maybe beat you, but they won't touch me. The half-breed swallowed hard. He knew it was true. At 8, the half-breed was forced to sneak into homes and steal. Once, he was caught rummaging through a kitchen drawer in a first-floor apartment. Hey! What the hell are you doing? A man shouted. The half-breed panicked, tried to run, but the man grabbed his shirt and threw him to the floor. Raymond, hearing the commotion, bolted out the back and fled on a motorbike. The man slapped the boy hard across the face and called the police. When they arrived, he was taken to the station. What's your name? The young officer asked, eyeing him suspiciously. Half-breed. Last name? Don't have one. Where are your parents? I don't know. The officer glanced at his colleague. This one's got no documents. Send him to the orphanage for now. But the next day, Raymond showed up with a fake document claiming to be his guardian. I'm his uncle. He's got mild mental issues, sorry about that. The officer didn't bother to look closely, just signed the report. If he gets caught again, we won't let him off. Outside the station, Raymond shoved the half-breed against the wall. You're the dumbest piece of shit alive. How'd you get caught? I was scared. I didn't know the man would come home early. You didn't know, you didn't know. Is there anything you do know besides wasting my time? He pulled out a length of flexible plastic tubing and whipped the boy's legs repeatedly. I'm sorry. It hurts. Please stop. You better learn how not to get caught. Anyone who gets caught is an idiot. The boy collapsed, nose bleeding onto the concrete floor. Every time he got sick, the half-breed was locked in the backyard. No medicine. No water. No blanket. He once had a high fever so intense he drifted into delirium, calling out for a mother he'd never known. Mom. Mom. Raymond opened the door, saw him curled up, and sneered. A thing like you calling for your mother? I'm your mother, your father, your God. Another time, in the dead of winter, he snuck into the paper storage shed to sleep. Raymond found him, dragged him out, and dumped a bucket of ice-cold water over his head. Let that be a lesson. The half-breed shivered violently. I'm cold, please. You should have died like the rest of the garbage. Joey tossed him a torn rag through the window crack. I don't know who you are, half-breed. But I think, maybe you had a mother once. She just couldn't find you. The half-breed looked up. Really? Joey nodded. You've got the eyes of someone who's been loved before. Not like us. The half-breed clutched the rag to his chest and closed his eyes. For the first time in his life, he allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, someone once held him close. One morning, the half-breed was caught hiding a piece of stale bread under his mattress. Raymond exploded with rage. He dragged the boy into the courtyard and boiled a kettle of water. Ungrateful little thief. I feed you, and you hoard food for yourself. No. I was going to save it for Anna. She didn't eat anything yesterday. Excuses. You little shits always have excuses. He raised the kettle. Anna, don't look. Joey screamed. But it was too late. The scalding water poured over the half-breed's hand. His scream ripped through the courtyard. He collapsed, blistering, unable to even cry. Raymond pushed back his greasy hair and dusted off his hands. Next time, I won't go easy. The half-breed didn't get up for 3 days. His hand blistered and swollen, with no bandages, no care. Doris, the elderly neighbor from halfway up the building, snuck him a piece of cotton cloth and an old tube of ointment. "Please, child, don't die," she whispered. The half-breed looked at her, his lips trembling. "Are you my mother?" She broke down. "No, but I wish I were." By age 12, Noel, his real name still unknown, was skin and bones. He wasn't any taller than an 8-year-old. His left hand was swollen and infected, the burn scars still red and raised across his palm. But worst of all were his eyes, lifeless, like he'd stopped believing anything good existed in the world. Raymond still forced him to beg every morning. But now, he barely got anything. Noel's hardened face didn't move people anymore, or maybe, they never cared in the first place. One afternoon, he came home with just $5 in the rusty can. "Only $5. What, your face doesn't get pity anymore?" Raymond snarled. "It rained today, no one was out." "Excuses," he roared. "It's always excuses with you." He grabbed Noel by the collar and dragged him into the yard. Anna and Joey hid behind the door, trembling. Raymond raised his fist and punched Noel square in the face. A tooth flew out, blood sprayed onto his shirt. Joey screamed, "Stop. You'll kill him. I want him dead. He's useless." For the first time, Noel didn't cry. He just looked at Raymond with no fear, no resistance, only emptiness. That look made Raymond pause for a second. Noel struggled to stand, blood still dripping from his lip, his hand gripping the can. "I won't beg anymore," Noel whispered. "What did you say?" Raymond's eyes widened. "I won't beg anymore." Raymond raised his hand to hit again, but Noel stepped back. "I'm leaving. Kill me if you want. If not, I'm gone." Raymond froze for a few seconds, then laughed. "You think you can just leave? No papers, no money, no one wants you. Go on, see how long you last. You'll die in a sewer like a dog." Noel didn't respond. He turned and walked away. No bag. No coat. Only wounds, shame, and bruised feet frozen from the cold. He ran through the slums, slipped behind the railway tracks near South Bronx Station. The smell of fuel, metal, and garbage surrounded him. He crawled under a train stopped at the signal. The wind cut through the holes in his clothes. Noel didn't know where he was going. He only knew he couldn't go back. The train began to move. He clung tightly to a steel pipe, teeth chattering. The wind roared, dirt and dust stinging his face. But he didn't let go. At 2 a.m., the train stopped in New York. Noel crawled out from under it, covered in black soot, coughing violently. He found an old abandoned terminal near Grand Central. Inside was pitch dark, the cement floor icy cold. A few homeless people curled under torn blankets. No one looked up when he entered. Noel sat against an iron beam, hugging himself. An old man with a long beard opened one eye and rasped. "How old are you?" 12. "Run away from a shelter?" "No, ran away from a demon." The man didn't ask further. He tossed Noel a piece of stale bread. "Eat. No one here asks who you are. But you'd better learn to keep your mouth shut. Talk too much, you die early." Noel ate the bread in silence. His teeth throbbed, but he chewed anyway. The next day, he wandered the streets of Queens, knocking on the doors of restaurants, convenience stores, repair shops. But everywhere, he was chased away. "Get out. We don't allow beggars. We don't hire homeless kids. You got no papers. Don't make me call the cops." One bakery owner with a thick beard pointed at him. Black, filthy, no documents. Go back to Nigeria, kid. Noel lowered his head and walked away. He tried standing in front of a restaurant, hand out. A woman walking past turned to her daughter and said, "See that, sweetheart? That's why you have to study hard. Or you'll end up like him." A boy riding a bike threw a water bottle at him. "Parasite. Go back to the jungle." Noel didn't react. He just slipped into the corner, hugged his knees, and stared blankly. That night, it poured rain. He hid inside a public restroom in the park. A security guard found him. The man was tall, wearing a black raincoat. "Get out. This ain't a hotel." "I'm cold, just for a little while," Noel begged. "Not my problem." The man grabbed the boy by the collar and shoved him out. Noel slipped and hit his head against the wall. A woman walking her dog nearby called out, "My God. He's just a child." The guard snapped, "He's a parasite. Let one of them in during the rain, and tomorrow the whole pack will show up." The woman looked at Noel for a moment, then silently tugged her dog away. No one stopped. No one asked his name. No one put a hand on his shoulder. Noel learned to hide in parking lots, broken phone booths, behind park benches. The first few nights, he cried quietly. After that, no more tears. One evening, he sat outside a small diner. The owner, old Mr. Matthew, noticed him and scowled. "You again? I told you, we don't hand out free food here." "I'm not asking for food." "Then what are you doing here?" I just wanted to smell it." Matthew stared at him for a while. "Kid, are you some kind of hungry ghost?" "No. I just don't want to forget what food smells like." The old man sighed, tossed him a stale piece of bread. "Eat and get going. And don't follow me." Noel took the piece. It was tiny. Hard as stone. But it was the first time someone had given him anything without yelling. He lowered his head and took a bite. Tears fell onto the bread. A little girl walking past with her mother whispered, "Mom, why is that boy crying while eating?" The mother pulled her along faster. "Don't look. We're not bad people, but we can't help everyone." Another night, Noel was surrounded by a group of drunk teenagers. "Hey, check out this kid. Looks like a damn monkey. Who you begging from, huh? Or are you casing the place to steal something?" "No, I was just sitting." "Oh, he speaks English. Let's knock some sense into him." They shoved him down and began punching and kicking him. A blow to the chest knocked the wind out of him. His ribs cracked. All he could hear was laughter, then darkness. The next morning, Noel crawled toward a hospital. At the reception desk, a nurse looked at his blank records and said, "No ID. No guardian. We can't admit you. My ribs, they're broken. I'm in pain. I understand. But this is a private hospital. The rules are the rules." He crawled back outside. An old woman sweeping nearby saw him and tossed him a piece of bread. "Eat and move along. You look like the Walking Dead." Noel nodded, bent down to pick it up with trembling hands. No anger. No complaints. Just a boy who had learned the harshest lesson this world had to offer. He didn't belong anywhere. At 13, Noel roamed around the Bronx, surviving by collecting recyclables and scavenging leftover food from markets at closing time. He no longer begged. He didn't seek shelter either because nowhere was safe. And no one cared whether he existed or not. He learned which dumpsters were most often forgotten, what time restaurants threw out stale food, and which markets had the fewest guards. But he also knew very well, if you got caught picking up something that wasn't yours, trouble wouldn't spare you. One bitterly cold January morning, he was digging through a trash bin behind Levine Bakery. Inside was half a stale loaf and a small bag of dropped pastries. Noel hesitated. "I'll just take this pastry. I'll leave right away," he whispered to himself, trying to reassure himself. He stuffed it into his coat, ready to go when a voice shouted behind him. "Hey! You, kid! What the hell are you doing?" A middle-aged man in a white apron appeared, holding a mop. I was just looking for trash. Don't pretend to be innocent. You're stealing." "No. I just picked this up, it was on the ground." "Garbage. You people just lurk around waiting to steal. I'm calling the cops." Noel stepped back, terrified. "I'm sorry. I'll put it back. I haven't eaten it yet." The man called two others from inside. One was named Steve. The other, Brandon, a tall young cook in uniform. Steve sneered. "It's him, huh? The black kid who's been loitering." "Yeah, that's him. Been circling the shop all week." Brandon stepped forward and grabbed Noel by the collar. "Let me teach you a lesson. No one asked any more questions." Brandon punched him in the stomach. Noel doubled over, dropping the bag of pastries. Steve kicked his knee. "Wanna steal? Eat it. Eat the plastic too." Noel screamed, "Please. I didn't mean harm. I was just hungry." "Hungry? Then get a job. Who gave you permission to steal?" Brandon yelled, then slammed his fist into the boy's back. A woman came out of the bakery. It was Angela, the owner. She saw the scene and frowned. "Stop. What are you doing?" "Ma'am, the kid was stealing. He snuck into the kitchen." Angela approached and looked down at Noel. "Sweetheart, what's your name?" Noel lay gasping, blood on his lips. I don't have a name, they call me half-breed." She turned to Steve. "Beating a child like that is illegal. You call the cops. They might arrest you instead." Steve fell silent. Brandon stepped back. Angela shook her head. "Clean this up. I'll handle it." Once the others went inside, she knelt down and wiped the blood from Noel's mouth with a handkerchief. "Where does it hurt?" Noel whispered, "It's fine. I'm used to it." Angela sighed. "You shouldn't be living like this. Do you have any family?" "No. I don't know anyone." "Then I'll call a doctor to check on you. I can't leave you like this." "No. I don't have papers, doctors won't help. But we still have to try. Just lie still." Noel grabbed her hand. "Thank you, you're the first person who's ever asked my name." 2 hours later, an ambulance arrived. When the staff learned he didn't have insurance, they shook their heads. "We can only provide first aid. After that, he'll have to leave." "Can't you take him to a hospital?" Angela asked. "Those are the rules, ma'am. No insurance, no admission." They cleaned his wounds, wrapped his bandages, and left him alone on the sidewalk. Angela handed him a $10 bill and a carton of milk. "Don't come back here again. Next time, I might not be around, and it'll be worse." Noel nodded and faded into the background like a shadow. He kept living under bridges and in abandoned buildings near the Hudson River. On freezing nights, when the temperature dropped below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, he sometimes burned scraps of paper for warmth. An old homeless man named Mr. John, once a bookbinder, lent him a piece of cardboard to sleep on. "Kid, if I die tomorrow, this thing's yours." Noel gave a faint smile. "Nobody dies with advance notice like that." Mr. John sighed. "Only the invisible ones do. Because no one notices when they're gone." One day, Noel sat huddled outside the entrance to Grand Central Station. A woman in her 50s walked past, wearing a fur coat and dark sunglasses. When she saw him holding out his hand, she frowned. "You again. You people grow like weeds." She rummaged through her purse and threw a $1 bill at him, not to help, but to make him disappear. "Take this and vanish. I don't want bad luck first thing in the morning." Noel bowed his head. "Thank you." She muttered, "Thank you for what? You'd better keep that mouth shut." Noel took the dollar, his eyes blank, and walked straight into Central Park. Sitting alone on a wooden bench, he watched the crowd pass by, parents strolling with their kids, children laughing on bicycles. "If only," he whispered, then chuckled at himself. "No. I was never meant to be part of that picture." A blond boy rode past and looked back. "Mom, why does that man look so sad?" His mother pulled him away quickly. "Don't point at strangers." That night, Noel slept under the awning of an abandoned church. A man walked past, an older priest in a black cloak. His name was Father Matthew. "Who are you, son?" he asked. Noel looked up. "I don't know. I just live. No one lives without a name. They call me half-breed. But I don't think that's my real name." The priest sat down beside him. "Would you like to come inside? You could sleep in the church. There's a blanket. Warm water." "I don't dare. I might dirty something sacred." "You're not dirty. The ones who threw you out are." Noel's eyes welled up. "Why does everyone hate me?" "No one hates you. They hate what they don't understand. What if they knew I was human? Then they'd be forced to look at themselves." The priest placed a hand on his shoulder. "Stay here tonight. I'll stay with you." Noel looked at him. For the first time in years, he closed his eyes in peace, even if only for a night. By the end of that winter, New York was colder than usual. Snow dusted the plaza near Harlem Station. Under the awning of an old warehouse, Noel curled up inside a cardboard box, Mr. John's flattened carton sheet draped across his chest. He wasn't feverish anymore. He didn't even shiver. His body seemed to have lost the ability to feel. Only his eyes remained open, staring blankly into the distance, as if waiting for someone or something to finally come and set him free. A faint click. A few steps away, a man in a gray coat, a camera around his neck, had just taken a photo. His name was Daniel Morgan, 38, a freelance photographer working on street documentary projects for an international magazine. Daniel hadn't meant to take the picture. He'd been walking past. But something about the boy's stillness, his lifeless stare, and the faint scar on his chin made him stop in his tracks. "Dear God," Daniel murmured. He stepped closer. "Hey, are you okay, kid?" No response. No movement. Daniel knelt down and gently shook him. "Hey, kid, are you alive?" Noel blinked, then whispered so faintly it was barely audible, "I don't know." Daniel looked around. No one noticed. No one stopped. He took off his scarf and wrapped it around Noel. "What's your name?" "No name. They call me half-breed." "No, that's not right," Daniel shook his head. "Your name, it should be something beautiful." Noel shook his head. "That's what everyone calls me. I don't have a name." Daniel's throat tightened. He looked at the child, nothing but skin and bones, sunken cheeks, cracked lips. "Are you hungry?" Noel gave a faint nod. Daniel opened his backpack, pulled out a protein bar, and handed it to him. Noel took it with both hands, holding it like treasure, then ate it slowly, bite by bite. Then Daniel pulled out his phone and took another photo, this time, a close-up of Noel's eyes. "These eyes," he murmured, "no 13-year-old should have eyes like this." That night, Daniel posted the photo on his social media with the caption, "New York, 3 degrees Celsius. I found this boy curled up in a cardboard box near the station. He has no name, no ID, no home. When I asked if he had a dream, he said, I want to have a name. The photo went viral. Within 24 hours, thousands of shares and hundreds of comments poured in. A non-profit organization named Shelter for All Foundation contacted Daniel. Mr. Morgan, we want to find this boy. We can help. Daniel led them back to the area, but Noel was gone. They searched through the Bronx, asked the homeless, spoke to volunteers. Finally, at a small church in South Bronx, where Father Matthew used to stay, they found him. Noel was sitting on a wooden bench, reading a tattered book. When Daniel walked in, Noel looked up and recognized him immediately. You, Noel stood up, hesitating. You came looking for me? Daniel nodded and stepped forward, hugging him tightly. Are you ready to change your life? Noel whispered, if I can. I want to be called a person. On his first day at Shelter for All Foundation, Noel took a hot bath. He sat in the tub, tears streaming down his face. I've never had a hot bath before, he told Isabel, the center coordinator. You don't have to be afraid anymore, she said. You're safe now. After his bath, his hair was cut, and he was given clean clothes, his first ever. A warm meal of rice, stew, and milk left Noel in disbelief. They'll take it away after this meal, won't they? He asked. Isabel smiled and ruffled his hair. No, kid. This is your home now. Daniel visited every afternoon. He taught Noel basic conversation, how to use a fork and knife, how to greet adults. You need to hold your head up. Look people in the eye. I'm scared, they'll hit me. No one's going to hit you anymore. They need to see strength in your eyes. Trust me. Noel looked at him, and then slowly nodded. One afternoon, while Daniel was adjusting his camera in the center's garden, a staff member from the streetwear brand Urban Pulse came by to volunteer. Her name was Lucy Reed, a sharp-eyed young creative director. As she passed by, she saw Noel helping Isabel water the plants and stopped. Who's that boy? Isabel briefly explained his story. Lucy nodded. Can I see a close-up of his face? Daniel showed her a photo. Lucy studied it carefully. That face, the high nose bridge, the structure, the depth in his eyes. I want to try him as a model. Isabel looked to Daniel. Daniel turned to Noel. Do you want to try? Noel looked down. I don't know how to walk like a model. Daniel smiled. You just need to be yourself. They're looking for someone real. Noel stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then nodded. The first photo shoot took place in a small studio in Brooklyn. Flashbulbs fired non-stop. Lucy directed Noel to tilt left, then right, then said. Don't pose. Just look into the lens the way you look at life. Those eyes, keep them as they are. The resulting photo left the entire crew speechless. No one said a word. A face cold and still, eyes empty yet captivating, dark skin contrasted starkly against the white background. A beauty that was not perfect but impossible to look away from. Lucy whispered, we just found an icon. A week later, Urban Pulse used Noel's image for the Street Justice campaign, honoring those forgotten by society. His photo appeared on a massive billboard in Times Square, in the heart of New York City. He stood there, surrounded by neon lights and music, staring up at himself on that vast screen. Isabel placed a hand on his shoulder. Well? What do you see? Noel whispered, for the first time. I see that I exist. Washington, Spring 2025. On the 18th floor of the headquarters of Morgan and Grant LLP, a beam of light through the glass wall lit up the composed face of Laura Walker, now 42. She wore a charcoal gray suit, stiff white collar, her hair pulled neatly back, her gaze sharp and unyielding. Recently appointed chief legal officer, Laura had become the first American-born woman to hold this title at the firm. Success, reputation, respect, she had achieved it all, or nearly all. Outside, Washington bloomed with sunlight and flowers. Inside her, a wound had never healed, the child she was never allowed to hold. Laura had buried that memory for 13 years. She never told anyone she had once been pregnant. To colleagues, she was a woman with no family. To her medical records, she had never given birth. Her mother Elizabeth had taken care of everything. Until today. On her way back to New York to attend an international conference, Laura had a layover at JFK Airport. While browsing a newsstand, her eyes happened to stop on a fashion magazine in the middle of the shelf. Iconic, Noel, the face of American justice. She froze. The face on the cover hit her like a lightning bolt. A young man, around 18, black, tall and slender, sharp eyes, high nose bridge, a faint scar on the chin. Those eyes far too familiar. Laura's hands trembled as she picked up the magazine. She couldn't stop shaking. The cover flapped against her fingers. No. No way. She bought 3 copies, didn't wait for change, and rushed to the waiting area. Flipping through the pages, she read. Noel, a young black model who spent 13 years homeless, has just been named the face of an international campaign for stateless children. He's at the center of public attention for his painful past and powerful journey out of the darkness. Her chest tightened. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't speak. Her heart felt pierced by 1,000 blades. The scar on his chin, she whispered. He fell from Margaret's arms after birth. A tear dropped onto the glossy page. An elderly woman nearby glanced over from her book. Ma'am, are you all right? Laura nodded faintly, closed the magazine, and stood. I have to go back to New York. But your flight is to Chicago. I'm changing my schedule. The next afternoon, Laura stood in front of the wrought iron gates of the Walker family mansion on the Upper East Side. The gate was the same. The stone walls, the perfectly trimmed hedges. But one thing had decayed over time, the woman who once ruled over everything inside. In the living room, Elizabeth, now 76, her hair silver, lay slumped in an armchair. Her eyes were cloudy from a stroke, her mouth drooped, her mind fading. She no longer barked orders. Only groaned incoherently, sometimes screaming nonsense. Her caretaker, a young woman named Beatrice, helped her sit up. Miss Laura's here, Beatrice said softly. She's more lucid today. Laura entered, still clutching the magazine. Hello, Mother. Elizabeth looked at her. It took several seconds before a flicker of recognition crossed her face. Then she let out a raspy laugh. Back to beg me for something again? Who are you? Didn't I tell you to forget that thing? Laura stepped closer, voice trembling. I need you to tell me what you did with my son. Elizabeth threw her head back, cackling. He was a half-breed. I threw him away. You promised me, you said you'd never speak of him again. I never forgot, Laura said firmly, gripping the magazine. For 13 years, I've carried that wound like a curse. That mongrel was not one of us. Elizabeth hissed. He wasn't worthy. I did the right thing. I saved this family's name. Laura broke down. Saved it? Or murdered it? You killed him the day he was born. Killing him was justice. Elizabeth shrieked. I told Henry to leave him in the woods. He deserved death from the second he came out. Beatrice stood frozen in the corner, her face pale. Ma'am, is that true? Laura didn't turn. She just looked at her mother, the woman who once held absolute power, now reduced to a hollow shell. Look, she said, raising the magazine. He's alive. And he's a symbol. Not because he's my son. Because he survived you. Elizabeth's eyes widened, her body trembling. No. No, that's not possible. Those eyes, that scar, that gaze, they are the truth I never forgot. And you buried yourself in the flames you lit. Suddenly Elizabeth screamed and collapsed into her chair, gasping. Beatrice rushed over. She's having an episode. I need to call the doctor. Laura stood still, clutching the magazine. Tears streamed down her face, but there was no more pain. These were tears of truth finally uncovered, a past no longer silenced. She turned and walked away. For the first time in 13 years, her back was straight, like a mother standing tall. That evening, Laura registered to attend a human rights conference in New York. On the guest list, one name stood out. Noelle Carter, founder of New Light Foundation USA, supporting stateless black children in the U.S. She sat quietly in the auditorium. Soft yellow lights glowed above. Rows filled with journalists, activists, and high-profile donors. When the host announced, "And now, please welcome a young man the entire nation is talking about," Laura held her breath. Noelle stepped onto the stage. Tall, composed, sharp features. A simple black suit highlighting his deep brown skin and the faint scar on his chin. He looked directly at the crowd, unflinching. His eyes were still cold. Still deep. But no longer wounded. They carried a calmness that had transcended pain. In that moment, Laura heard nothing but her own heartbeat. Noelle walked forward, steady. After years in the shadows, he now stood beneath the lights facing hundreds of eyes without fear, without bowing, only the steady presence of someone who had survived hell and lived to tell it. Laura sat in the last row, her heart pounding. She gripped the armrest, her eyes never leaving the stage. She fought hard not to stand up, not to run to him, not to hold him in her arms right then and there. The host announced, "Please welcome Mr. Noelle Carter, founder of New Light Foundation USA, to speak about his work with homeless children of color." Thunderous applause. Noelle nodded slightly and stepped to the microphone. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, his voice deep, steady, every word landing like a drumbeat. "But I'm not here to tell a sad story. I'm here to speak about the power of being alive." The hall fell completely silent. "I am the result of abandonment, of prejudice, of silence. I was thrown into the woods like trash, treated like an animal, eating leftovers, sleeping in cardboard boxes. But I survived. And I want to use this life to remind the world, every living being deserves to exist regardless of skin color, origin, or circumstance." Every eye was fixed on him. Laura held back tears. A female reporter whispered, "He's so strong." Noelle took a deep breath. "I don't know where I came from. No birth certificate. No last name. No one came looking for me. Just one photo changed everything." All eyes turned to Daniel, seated in the front row. He nodded gently, his eyes quietly radiant. Noelle continued, "Sometimes, the strongest thing a human being can do, is not to hate." The atmosphere stilled. Noelle looked directly into the crowd. His gaze met Laura's. She froze, breath caught. Her clenched hands trembled. He had seen her. There was no doubt now. No one in the room knew that the woman with brown hair in a business suit at the back was Noelle's biological mother, the one who had lost her child 13 years ago in pain, betrayal, and captivity. No one knew what would happen next. Then, amid the flashing cameras, the lights, the whispers, Noelle stepped away from the microphone and walked off the stage. The hall stirred. Where is he going? Who is that woman? Laura stood up, panicking. Son. She couldn't say more before she saw Noelle standing in front of her. Mother and son faced each other. No words. Nearly 13 years of silence were now reduced to two eyes locking, one filled with the weight of guilt, the other bearing scars on body and soul. Laura stammered. Do you recognize me? Noel didn't answer. He just looked at her. Intently. Without anger, without blame, and without tears. Laura broke down crying. I'm sorry. I didn't save you. I wasn't strong enough to protect you from my own mother. He spoke slowly, his voice steady and calm, not cold. If you hadn't tried to keep me, I would have died. But if I don't forgive, I won't live. Laura collapsed into the chair, covering her face. I've been a ghost for 13 years. Just knowing you're alive, that you're happy, that's enough for me. Noel knelt, gently touched her shoulder. You cried for me. But she never did. Laura looked up. You know. She said it on her sickbed, he nodded. She confessed everything. I know she ordered them to throw me away. I also know you were locked up. I don't blame you anymore. But I need you to say it. She clutched his hand tightly. You are Noel. The most beautiful thing I ever had. Applause broke out. From people who didn't know the full story but who could feel the truth finally breaking free. Daniel rose and walked over. Laura, I'm Daniel, the one who took that photo of your son. Laura embraced him. Thank you. Thank you for saving his life. Daniel gently patted her back. No. He saved his own life. I was just lucky enough to witness it. Lucy Reed, the creative director, approached. Noel, do you want to take a break for a few minutes? He shook his head. No. There's one more thing I need to say. Noel returned to the stage. Amid thunderous applause, he stood again at the microphone. A person can be discarded. But their soul cannot. Today, I officially announce, New Light Foundation USA will collaborate with international attorneys to push for the bill, recognition of citizenship rights for stateless children in the United States. The entire hall rose in applause. Laura looked at her son not as a discarded child, but as a man rewriting his own history. That evening, at Grand Central Station, the place that had once been a nightmare of Noel's childhood, the two sat side by side. Laura asked softly. Do you think you'll take back your family name? Noel looked up at the train departure board. I used to have no name. Now, everyone calls me Noel. That's enough. I used to think I didn't deserve to be your mother. Maybe you didn't. But you owned your mistakes. And sometimes, that's enough. Laura looked up at her son. Can I call you my son? He smiled. You don't need permission to be my mother, do you? She cried again. This time, with peace. Noel stood up. A little boy selling candy passed by, recognized him. Mister. Are you Noel? Can I have your autograph? He crouched, took out a pen, and signed the small candy box. The boy asked. Who are you, that everyone's taking pictures of you? Noel looked straight into the boy's eyes, smiling. I'm someone the world once tried to erase. No one has the right to strip another of dignity and the chance to live not in the name of honor, power, or bloodline. A soul, even one abandoned, can become a beacon if someone sees it and lifts it up. Forgiveness is not forgetting the past, it is rising above it to live fully. Motherhood, when tied to truth and courage, can heal even the deepest wounds.
If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.